Started from October 22nd.
Beautiful.
So there's not one in September?
Nope, it's every 3 months.
Every 3 months, okay.
Nice and quarterly.
You said October what?
22nd.
Thank you.
And it's also electronic and Clariphone
Oh,
again.
excellent. Cool.
Was that a good turnout you had?
Yep, pretty good. Yeah, retention's been good. Electronics has been, excited by it to be able to keep going. And, we had a little bit less in July than before, but it's a very busy month and there was another collection the same day, so.
Hmm.
I wonder if fewer people get takeout in the summer too, or something, like the warmer months. I'd be curious. But, cool.
Now, for the city residents, we have a very nice hazardous waste pickup over at the county,
Oh, yeah.
which is very nice.
Cool.
Is there some way to make everybody, I think you might get better recycling participation if it was all in one spot? Is that like a dumb idea, or maybe?
I think in a perfect world, it would be a great idea.
But we've added
But,
the
yeah.
electronic recycling with the.
Well, yeah, I
kiosk
think
for the
that's
drop-off.
great, but I'm just,
I would love to see that expand. The reality is it's a bunch of different companies that are dealing with different things, so there's a lot of coordination with that. Single stream recycling does a lot of things, but not everything, and so if that's their property, that's different.
so it's complicated and
Yeah.
more complicated than you'd guess. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, just a thought.
No, for sure. Any other announcements? Yeah. No, please.
Me, yeah. Saturday, from 10 to noon, we will be doing a cleanup at the Woods Lake over on the, Oakwood Neighborhood Association side on their beach, pulling out some vine and just doing a general cleanup and, that sort of thing. Pretty low-key, just a few hours for a work session.
That's Saturday the
At the
20th?
beach?
Yeah, so, there's the city park side, and then the steep stairs that come down on the Parkview side will be over there.
Invasive weed or what?
Yeah, we have bittersweet that is swallowing everything.
Bittersweet, okay. That's Saturday, August 20th from 10 to noon.
20, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody else? Lori, did you want to talk about asylum stuff or get to it when we get to our subcommittees? Or are you just here to hang out?
Either way, maybe,
All right, then we'll hold off for the asylum spot then. Okay, so seeing no other announcements, comments by others on non-agenda items. I think that's kind of the same thing. All good?
I'll just throw something out from, commission, we're getting a new city attorney, we're gonna hire a new city attorney. Please go to kalamazoocity.org/city attorney, or, I'm sorry, attorney search. It's a one-pager, just 5 qualities you want to see in a new city attorney. We're working with the Michigan Municipal League to do this search.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that and spread the word.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on, unfinished business updates discussion. Jamie is not joining us right now for a community sustainability plan. They're going to be meeting with the county to sort some stuff out soon, so we will probably hear from her in September, I think, on some updates, what's going on with the plan. And unless somebody else has stuff, I don't have anything about Kalamazoo River Morrow Dam cleanup at the moment. Usually something Erin's been focusing on, but anybody hear anything?
I think there was something in the newspaper, but
Okay.
I didn't read it. Did you happen to see that?
Nope, totally missed it.
I'll, try to figure out if I can find that real quick.
Okay. Yeah, if not, we can circle back towards the end on that one. So conveniently, that brings us to Emily's presentation on new approaches to leaf management. If we can switch over, Melissa.
So I submitted a document which
Okay,
I
thank you.
don't think went out to folks maybe, but, I don't know, if you want to put it up, or I could just kind of talk through the reasoning.
Yeah, if you want to maybe do like the
yeah.
bullet points, and then we can
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
revisit it next month as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, just looking at, when the leaves come down in the fall, we sort of right now have this approach of like the city and private homeowners, and basically, we have a strategy of just removing all leaf litter from all surfaces, and it just kind of goes to, I don't know where it goes, wherever, somewhere where it's just trash. I don't know if it goes to the city compost or where it goes. And I think by doing that, we're missing out on a couple things. One, we are removing a lot of organic material that is necessary for, oh, thank you, yeah. We're removing a lot of necessary material that's for insect populations, which support the bird populations. I looked at the notes, it looked like Gail had been working on the urban bird treaty, which fits really nicely into that plan. So it's just such an easy way to maintain our bird populations that we're just stripping them of their food source. It also helps, control erosion. I even see over at Woods Lake where I am, they'll leaf blow the entire hill, down leading into the lake. And I think if you're just a parks employee, you're just doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, right? But we know with removing all the material, it strips the soil, it leads to more erosion, and just really creates more work for people that we don't need. There's a separate issue with leaf blowers themselves, being like the noise pollution and the air pollution that they create. I don't know if we want to consider that a separate issue or the same issue, right? So I just put together sort of this little paper, just sort of as an introduction to some of the issues. And with that, not really knowing, what that would mean as far as if we would direct that to the Parks Department or what we would do with that information. Just wanted to bring something to the table that's been on my mind.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions on the immediate side of it?
What are you proposing? No leaf pickup, or just leave the leaves?
So I think it could be several things.
Mhm.
I think that neighborhoods are really well positioned to find out what they want to do with this. Maybe we could designate some drop-off places around the city, for municipal leaf collection. Most neighborhoods in the city have empty lots that are unutilized. They could go there. We could work with community gardens to do drop-offs there. For private homeowners, I think it's mostly just awareness. Maybe there's some sort of clever incentive campaign we could come up with. Maybe the announcements could go into the curb, the view from the curb, to let people know. The thing with a lot of these issues is it's not that people are intentionally causing harm, right?
Mhm.
It's just a lack of
We've
knowledge and a lack of awareness. So those were the two sort of things that came to mind kind of immediately that we could do.
What do people think about, the city, piloting mulching the leaves instead of blowing them away?
I think that's a recommendation we could certainly make, and it would also be a good one to bring up at the Parks and Rec meetings as well. Maybe in the meantime, then, we can make sure we'll distribute this information, everybody can get read up on it, and then we'll still have plenty of time this fall to be thinking about it, that maybe our September meeting, we try to figure out what to do, even just, who to educate and forward information on to.
Do you want to add it as a subcommittee? Is there anything you would want to do to work on it, or just
I don't necessarily know if it would need to be a subcommittee beyond, because we already have a wildlife committee. We'll have a rec to the Parks and Rec board or somewhere in there, I think.
I think in our neighborhood, it's just constant leaf blowers all day long, drives you crazy. And you can see what happens to the grass and the lawn when you blow it out. Every little twig and every little ant comes off the ground, and you've got kind of a sterile pile of grass there. And it's so easy to just mulch it and leave it there.
Yep.
People
I
are
wonder
so
if-
obsessive. So they're just so obsessive.
Yes, there's a certain amount of, they almost want it to look like a cartoon scene with a little speck in the way.
I may have complained about it in the Winchell Facebook group and made myself neighborhood enemy number one for an afternoon recently, yeah.
Gotta be.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I just wonder, I wonder if people actually understand, you know, what they're doing and how, what a nuisance it is and how much better it'd be for the lawn. You wouldn't have to put a bunch of fertilizer on there so often to make the lawn grow. And you could have you could have 8 leaf cleanups instead of 2,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know?
Sure.
Instead of, and besides, when people rake or blow them, mostly now it's all blown, they don't really put it by the curb and wait for the day before the leaf pickup and put them in the street. Nobody does that. It's like nobody goes 25 in the 25 zone. You know, they just don't do it. So just changing the whole mode, I think, would be a better way. I wonder if I think I'm gonna go around and ask people what they would think. Just ask 20 neighbors and see what they think about changing it to, you know, yes, the leaf pickup, but not put every single leaf out there and don't blow them, mulch them, and most of the guys don't even do their own lawn.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll do that. I'll just go around and ask 20 different neighbors and just see what they think about changing their mode of taking care of their lawn in the fall. Maybe people just don't know, maybe they'll object, I don't know, but I'll do that.
Well, and that's what I wonder too, with, you know, the Parks Department, I assume a lot of the city's work is contracted through private companies, right?
Yeah.
So then, is there any review of what those procedures are of the companies that we work with through the city? Is there any direction beyond take care of this parcel of land, you know?
You know, if there's any HOA requirements anywhere for people to have to get rid of their leaves in a specific way? I'm not familiar
Not
with
within the
it, but,
city.
Probably not in the city
Yeah,
plan too.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be, you know, just sort of brainstorming a little bit of something that we could encourage the city, the Parks and Recs, to do as a, you know, kind of showcase mulching in place in the parks and the green spaces, rather than, you know, hauling everything out. And, you know, just sort of doing it as a demonstration of, you know, of the city, like, steps up and says, we understand the benefit, and we're gonna ask our contractors to mulch in place. So, just one quick question. As you scroll down there, my name is spelled wrong. I saw it like 5
Oh, I
times, so.
apologize, yeah.
No, that's okay.
I didn't really know we were gonna be like putting it on the board.
No, certainly. That's-
Well, now that you are, you know.
Ad hoc situation.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm liking some of the ideas I'm hearing. Number one, talking to some neighbors to see what they think. If nothing else, there's an education opportunity. Number two, we're gonna read this and maybe talk about it a little bit more next week or next month. And then also I really like the idea of, we could really position the Parks Department as kind of a, hey, we're the people that know how to do turf. These are best practices, for the environment, et cetera, you know.
Can you send that out?
Yes, I'll distribute it, absolutely, yep. Yeah.
Is there anything in the community sustainability plan that has to do with that?
I didn't read anything.
I don't remember.
I don't remember anything about lawn
There's
management.
composting and sustainability.
Yeah, I know there's composting, but specifically leaves.
I know that Aaron was talking to Director Baker about coming and talking about something else.
Yes,
He would also be the one to know about where the leaves go.
Oh, yeah, they go to the Shippers,
It would be,
Shippers Landing.
skippers.
oh, okay, yeah, and that whole process.
But it
Where,
turned
so I
into-
think Public Services
Very
working
do.
with Parks and Rec to work on this, so I would encourage him and the
Oh,
process
really?
to.
That's a good idea, yeah, we'll be having him, I can't remember if we decided September or October, we're gonna be talking about the flood plan. Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna be talking about the flood management stuff that he's been constantly working on, and just see where they are on that, so that's a good idea to
Yeah.
pick his brain while we have the opportunity.
Currently, the lease by the city gets over to our composting site, and the contractors very due next. Uses it for their,
Is it still available for city residents? The composted material that they can
not
get
the
for free?
composting materials, but we have other materials out front that residents
And that is also, where's that?
Cypress Landing.
Okay. That's off of East Main.
Well, excellent. Any closing thoughts on leaf stuff at the moment? All right, thank you, Emily. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. I'll distribute the reading, and we will talk about it more next month. So I guess the next thing is we're going to talk a little bit about subcommittee assignments. Suppose it makes sense either way to do it before or after the reports, but David, I think I saw your list. Emily, I don't remember if I saw your list of preferences.
I'll support, or I can just tell you.
Yeah, you can just tell me for now. So we have a few vacant ones, and then I think, David, you said you were most interested in Parks and Rec, and given the fact that I don't think I've seen Rob in 4 months, we might be able to discuss you taking over that position.
Emily had also said that she was interested in that one.
Oh,
so-
am I mixing up the two,
No,
maybe?
we both did. That's-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to be an alternate or help if Emily would like to
Sure.
do that.
I mean, it's up to you guys. Either way, if one of you wants it, I'm happy to talk to Rob and see if
I
he
would
does.
like to do it, and then if you
I'll
feel
help.
like an extra meeting.
Yep, I'll help whenever you need.
Beautiful. Okay,
And it wouldn't hurt to have more than one person, because you can't,
true.
Right.
what,
There's
you know,
only-
sometimes you can't make it to all the meetings, and it would be nice to have an alternate or
Yeah.
tag team it, or,
Absolutely. And that's a pretty important one too. That's a lot of real estate on city property, so, excellent. So let's see, what did that leave for number 2 for David?
And then Gail is doing very good work on the tree committee. So I would be willing to help you out, as your alternate on that, because I really appreciate your voice in that committee. You're doing a very good job.
oh, well, thanks. Yeah, the tree committee is a little different than any of the others, because the representative from EEC is actually a voting member of the tree committee. It's not just an observer who reports back, it's actually a working member of the committee. So, for that reason, it would be hard to, you know, have an alternate. But thank you for your kind words. I have enjoyed being on the committee, because I have some agendas I always,
So that's
Try to
for
push.
ours too.
Pardon?
Town Lake is like that.
Oh,
too.
is it?
And
Okay.
for other spots, not mine, but like, other people have been able to be alternates, and I think,
oh,
so,
hmm.
so, that might be a possibility. if
Well,
you
I can ask next time we have a meeting.
Okay.
I have a question about the Parks Board or similar boards, right? So that's one of the boards that we would normally sit on as an observer and not a voting member. Would it be possible to be on both boards and then be a voting member on both? Or is
It is
that a?
possible, yes.
Okay, because they only have like 3 people on that board.
Okay. Yeah, my understanding is yes, it's possible. The main reason I think that is because Bobby, who's also not here, is on the NFP as well. So that's definitely an option if you wanted to be like an official member and then David's like a backup or something. So we're kind of working through your list, David. Wildlife, Gail's on that one. That could maybe be a tag team. I know that's pretty close to your line of work as well. I'm gonna be honest, since I'm in the driver's seat today, I don't feel that strongly about absolutely having a person assigned to each one of these. And I'm open to doing alternates or, kind of wait to see how the chips fall on the tree committee, and then, after we know which way that goes, we can decide if we need to find a different spot for you. That sound okay?
Okay. And I had offered to take on the Kalamazoo River Watershed Council because we didn't have somebody on that, so,
Right.
you know, I'm still willing to do that unless somebody else has a strong interest.
I was also thinking about that one. I've been personally kind of more interested in river stuff as time goes on. You can obviously take first dibs if you'd like to do that one. But maybe in the interest of spreading things out, I would ask maybe choose either wildlife or the river. Maybe it's one way to, but you don't have to decide now, we can
Yeah.
maybe come back in the September meeting and sort that out. But, yeah, and planning commission is kind of up for, grabs as well. I go to it, I don't really think there's a whole lot to report back most of the time. But, yeah, how about we just table David's assignment for next month, once we know a little bit more.
When is the planning commission?
I think it's the first Monday of the month. I think it was the 4th, this month. I watched the recording. I did my homework.
Yeah.
I could look that up and follow up. But it's a lot of like site review plan and people are presenting like how they want to modify the properties and stuff like that. I think it probably is considerably more important before the NFP was passed, when there wasn't additional measures of, environmental checks there. Yeah. So, okay. So we'll table that one until next month unless anybody has any closing thoughts on assignment.
Is Aaron cycling off this year then?
This is his last year, yes.
Okay, so some of his spots will be open too.
Correct.
Then, like
Correct.
the odor task force, okay.
Yes. So, and that one, is kind of perennial up in the air, in terms of just waiting on information
meet.
from DHHS or whoever. That one's like I'd almost say like a 0.5 assignment in terms of time commitment. But it is a good thought that we're gonna have to think about that in the near future. I don't know off the top of my head.
What's the minimum?
I know there's been many months in which they didn't meet, so that would make sense, to me. And that, as far as I know, they're still waiting on the state, on their report, and that's kind of the big thing at the moment, so. Okay.
Well, I'd be interested in serving on that one, since I'm not on any of the others, and to be honest, the 0.5, aspect is somewhat appealing too,
Okay.
working in Lansing, so.
Yeah, and, yeah, maybe we talk to Aaron, and that might be a good one to tag team as we do the rotation house edit, so you're up to speed as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was just scrolling, speaking of the Watershed Council, are you familiar with Green Drinks?
Yeah.
Have you been to Green
Yeah.
Drinks?
Yeah,
Did you get those invitations?
yeah.
Yes.
Because next Tuesday, the 23rd, from 5 to 7 at the State Theater, Doug McLaughlin from the Kalamazoo Watershed Council will be speaking about that.
Excellent. What time was that, sorry?
From 5 to 7
5 to 7.
at the mezzanine level of the State Theater. Discussion will start around 5:30.
Excellent.
Yeah, they've been stepping those up suddenly again. I'm not sure who puts those on, but,
Margie,
Green, Green
Is that the-
Council Sustainable Business Forum.
so that let survive, okay.
Well, it's been a hiatus,
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
it's being, rejuvenated.
Good.
well, that would be a good one if somebody wants to go to that and tell us if there's updates. I unfortunately can't make that one.
I usually go to those.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
What's the turnout now? I'm just curious. I haven't-
Well, I've only been to one,
Okay,
there's only been two, and one of them maybe there's been three. I've been to two. One of them I couldn't go to because I was giving a presentation same time, so, it's been, it hasn't been thousands of people
Right.
yet. I think people are just, take some time for people to learn about it again.
oh, Doug is new to the job,
The
okay.
email list is very long.
He's
There's a lot of
been-
people
he's been
on the list.
On the
The board?
board, but he's just the former executive director left, and so he's taken on that role.
I'll try to make that one too.
I'm sorry, can we back up just a touch? What's the group
Green
to
Drinks.
organize? Okay.
They
Is this a company
No.
or a group or?
Nope, it's,
Michigan Sustainable Business Forum.
they recruit different, people to speak about different environmental related topics, meet at different places like breweries or something. The first one back since Corona was at Bell's to show their cardboard compactor and how they let community, small businesses and different kind of community people come in and bring their cardboard to have it actually compacted and recycled. And then they had another one that went over the community sustainability plan. I'm not sure if there was another one or not.
There was one at the creamery,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
but it
that's
was
right.
like I said, I was, giving a talk, so I couldn't go to it.
Yeah, it was like on Leeds, sustainable design tour kind of thing. Yeah, we can get you connected if you just even want to be in the know.
I just was
Zena.
looking for context.
For sure,
Okay, yeah,
for
thank
sure.
you.
Emily, what's your email?
E?
But maybe don't read it into the
No,
public.
yeah.
If you want to write it down.
We can-
Yeah,
Here, I can
okay.
send you that email.
That can be a.
It'd be a lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah, you can never get,
Yeah.
never get any sleep.
Right. Okay, productive. Well, moving on to subcommittee reports, Bobby's not here. Air quality, water quality, Bobby and Aaron not here. Wildlife, natural resource protection, Gail.
Not much to report. I am still, plodding along with the application for the urban bird treaty. Waiting for Amy McCarthy to move things along with the city of Kalamazoo. I can't really do anything until that happens. So that's where I'm at with that. And I don't have any other wildlife things to report. Waiting to hear the necropsy findings, autopsy findings from our falcon that died under anesthesia, but don't have that information yet.
If nothing else, maybe, when Jamie comes to talk about the sustainability plan, we can bring that up as well, just like, hey, what's going on with that? Yeah, exactly. So, we'll make sure to bring that up again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Waste management, litter.
I didn't get a hold of everyone for, actually meeting. I don't know if anyone else is interested in that. It's really, I don't know, the idea was collaborative, trying to figure out some new things that we can do. So I don't know if anyone else is interested in that. You mentioned trying to add different kinds of recycling events. I don't know if you'd want to join and try to see what else we could add, but I'd be down for something like that.
Well, okay, the trouble is, I miss so darn many meetings because I'm coming and going all the time.
How about, like Zoom meetings? I have Zoom, so we could do that too.
I'm sure, well, I just like a
Okay.
phone call.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a phone number, and you can, anytime I can hop on and join, I'll do it, I'll give you a phone number.
Seems like there's a real need to do some additional waste collection or have some options for people in some of our, areas of the city where houses will congregate, because I know that is an issue for people. I don't want to dismiss that is an issue, but we know that people are going to be out, so I feel like if we had some better ways to keep that sanitary, that would, cut down a lot of friction and just improve conditions of life.
Absolutely.
Yep, I had nothing.
Okay, planning commission, me. Not much to report, actually. They are deleting basically, part of a street. I wrote down the name, but I don't have that piece of paper on me, unfortunately. But they're doing a development on the northeast-ish side of town, that there's like a little strip of road that the, planning commission said that they're abandoning, I guess, is basically, or vacating, I think. So they're gonna turn that into a block, multi-use development. And then the other update, is they moved the wellhead protection ordinance to a different section of city code. It doesn't change any of the laws, it doesn't remove anything. It was, to bring it in, compliance with a new Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy State Directive, on how often this needs to be updated. So if you're, interested in that documentation is online, but in effect, it's just moving a paragraph from one piece of paper to another. So, that's the planning commission for this one. Tree committee?
There's, nothing, to report from the tree committee, really, not anything of note has happened at the meetings. The last I heard, the revision of the tree ordinance, may be outsourced. You know, there seems to be an interest in outsourcing it to a consultant rather than trying to write it, revise it in-house.
Do you know the reasoning for that?
Well, the reasoning is, a part of it is, I think, just time, and the other thing is the interest in, being able to have someone who has looked at ordinances from a number of different communities to, you know, make ours, or, you know, maybe not make ours consistent with theirs, but just to see, you know, are there ideas that we can draw from other ordinances that have been revised. And, so, there are apparently consultants that do this, and, that's the last I heard, but there hasn't been any, movement on working on that from the tree committee or from the city staff.
Gail, what are the revisions under consideration? Like, what is the motivation for needing to?
It's just that, you know, I don't think anything much is going to change, but the ordinances, I don't remember what the date is, but it's just a need to, you know, revise it. I think there's a number of things in there that may not be, consistent with current standards or codes, such as, you know, the height of trees, the distance from power poles, you know, kind of that sort of thing from a consumer's, and, you know, electrical perspective. I mean, there really isn't any major revisions, it's just, you know, making those things, making sure that the ordinance fits what the current standards are. And, you know, maybe, you know, I don't know what else, you know, we had sort of started on it, and, you know, looking at, you know, instead of trying to list every species that you could plant and every species you could not plant, you know, is to have a more general list of, you know, in certain spaces, you know, you can have trees up to a certain height. In other spaces, you can have trees that are up to another height, depending on whether or not there are power lines, you know, overhead in that curb lawn. So, you know, it's not anything major, it's mostly nuts and bolts.
Does that affect the street tree planting initiatives?
No, that, you know, that really isn't part of the ordinance. You know, that has more to do with just public works. You know, how much money is available, how many trees are gonna be sourced. You know, there was the tree survey that was done last year and identified the age and condition of the trees that we have, how many open spaces there are, what the species are, you know, and to use that as a guide, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the ordinance. That's more of a plan. And, you know, so there's a general plan of being able to divide the city into, you call them, parcels. And with the idea of each parcel will be visited by the, city forester and that staff, every 9 years. So, you know, the trees in that quadrant will be assessed, they will be trimmed, they will be, you know, removed if they're old and dangerous. And then, you know, the next year they'll pick another area to work on. And so that's at least kind of a plan. But like I said, that doesn't have to do with the ordinance. There's no law that dictates that. How they're choosing to allocate the resources.
Thank you for that.
And similar, does the tree committee ever present recommendations to the city commission directly? Even that you're aware of, at least?
I do not know of a situation where they have done that. I mean, it's usually, you know, projects are coming to us that involve trees that are on city property with requests to do things to the trees, usually remove trees. We actually had somebody come to the tree committee, who was told she should come to the tree committee, and the site plan was planting trees, not removing trees. Like, we all just like sat there and like, what did you say? So it's like, well, that's kind of refreshing. So,
yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it too, is so with the community sustainability plan and then obviously the NFP, there's two big policy pieces that impact trees, and we know that there's a huge need for a lot more than even the sustainability plan is planning on planting, say that 5 times fast. Yeah, it might be an opportunity to encourage more planting, and because like you said, it sounds like most of the issues are removing trees, and that's like the opposite direction of what we want to be going.
But there's some negotiation that goes on, because if somebody wants to remove a tree, it's going to be at least a 2-to-1, if not 3 or 4-to-1 replacement.
Okay.
So they don't get to just remove a tree.
Good.
You know, they never get to just remove a tree.
It seems like it happens a lot, but maybe that's outside of the tree committee's purview in those instances. But,
well, they have purview, you know, over any tree that comes out that is in the curb lawn or on city property.
Gotcha.
You know, unless it is a diseased tree.
Right.
I mean, unless it's like a dead tree,
Sure.
then there's, you know, somebody came to us with that, well, I was told I had to come, and it's like, it was on city property, but like the trees were dead, and they're like, well, you don't have to ask us if you can take out dead trees.
For the amount of replacement, is it, based on the age of the tree or things like that for,
A lot of it is.
and is that something that would be possibly updated in the tree ordinance update as well, to like make sure that it actually like follows the fact that like city trees that are new have like a 30-year life expectancy and stuff like that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that an ordinance needs to be, nimble and not rigid. And so, you know, there may be some recommendations for that, but I don't think it would ever be, you know, an actual numerical value. Because it really depends on the site and, you know, how much room there is to replace that tree.
That was another question I had. If there isn't room on that specific property for the replacement, is there a kind of like requirement for them to replace it in a different nearby-ish area that's
Yeah.
maybe not theirs, but city land still?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I thought I remembered something like that. I wasn't sure if they still had to.
I know this is all about city property, but I've gone through a lot of neighborhoods, and every once in a while you see some huge tree that is not a city tree, it's private property, and it's been there for 2 years. And I can tell by looking at the neighborhood that people don't have the money to remove the tree. Does the city have any service where they'll come out and remove a huge fallen tree that, or is gonna fall in the house any minute? Even though it's on private property for some very affordable,
I don't know,
okay.
I don't have that information.
Maybe we can look into the answer. Yes, thank you, Gail. Valuable update there. Asylum Lake Policy Management Council, Sharon, and then perhaps Laurie?
Yeah, Lori's probably gonna have more details. We had a few discussions of, some different people who are leaving the council, but I think a good chunk of the time after financial reports and stuff was, talking about the parking situation. And Lori.
Thank you. And I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if you have trouble hearing me with my mask on.
Could you, introduce yourself, Laurie?
My name is Lori Holmes. I live right next to the preserve on High Point Drive. And so I've been very involved in this parking situation and involved with the preserve for 12 years now. And now very involved in the issue of parking at the entrance on Winchell. Maybe some of you know a lot about this. I'll try to be brief. At this point, we have been working on the situation since updates or opinions from city departments, which is kind of what your territory, not necessarily that you have any involvement in it at the moment that would be of interest to you. One of them is a parking program, limited parking proposal made by Dennis Randolph, the city traffic engineer, who also has been the lead engineer and advisor from the city for the bicycle lane program along Winchell Avenue. And he submitted this to several different groups on April 8th. And it shows the map that he proposed for limited parking between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., and that it would be on the south side of Winchell, with the bicycle lane still remaining intact on the north side, and it would be an interruption to the bicycle lane, as similarly there is an interruption of various sorts in various bicycle lanes in other streets in the city,
Including Winchell.
which then would enable people who do not live within walking distance of this entrance to gain entrance to the preserve. Otherwise, the direction on the sign, which is here, says go down to Oakland, go up to Parkview, go down Parkview and park there, or go to Drake and park there, which also involves walking twice as far to get to the major attraction for people with kids, people who can't walk very far, which is what we call the spillway, which is the area where the big lake comes down here, then there's a path over it, and there's a creek here with turtles, snakes, minnows, fish, etc., which is what attracts the children especially. The Asylum Lake Preservation Association and some of the Winchell neighbors have been concerned about the fact that this entry is now made inaccessible to everyone who cannot walk. There was talk about parking on High Point, which is my street, Shelter Point, which is across. Each of those streets is a private street. The people who live there pay to have the street maintained. They pay taxes, but the taxes don't pay to maintain the street. And so both of those streets have said, no, we do not permit parking. We're not going to be a parking lot for the preserve. So you're talking about Sycamore, which is some way up, and the people on Sycamore have not been terribly happy with people. These are not wide streets, and just delivery trucks make it difficult to negotiate mailboxes and driveways. So the reason that this is the one recommendation from the city traffic engineer. The other decision was from the planning department, and it said, this is a minor entrance. People can access the preserve from other entrances. This is not something that's important to very many people, and so they have said no parking in this area, even limited, even small numbers, maybe smaller numbers than the original 12 that was proposed by Mr. Randolph. It's just not going to happen. The back and forthing of this has gone on and on and on. A substantial group of area residents, because people come from outside of the neighborhood, not just the ones who live down the street, wrote letters, came and testified and supported this idea at the city commission meeting, but there was, so far has been no move to change this. The neighborhood association board is insisting that the plan of the neighborhood, which was approved by the city, takes two sides of Winchell bicycle lane, period.
to bring you up to date on what's happening there is that this now, the council, this was brought to the management council of the preserve by Alpha, which has one seat, as Sharon mentioned, she has one seat, and it was highly discussed last week at the council meeting. And in a 7-to-1 vote, the council voted to support this plan or a modification of it. This plan calls for 12 parking spaces. The Asylum Lake Preservation Association is perfectly willing to make fewer parking places. The main thing is to let a fairly small but steady stream of people who drive to this place, give them access. So we've heard a lot from Winchell area residents that they are embarrassed and not happy with what feels like exclusivity on the part of the Winchell neighborhood, and concerned that people from other areas of the city are being denied access to the preserve, concerned that in order to get there from even the Winchell neighborhood, you're adding pollution to the air by driving all the way around. And the groups that we've heard from most are older people or people with slight handicaps. We know that the preserve is not ADA. There's been a lot of hope and wish that we could do that. But people whose, as one person put it, my 80-year-old legs will not travel from those parking lots into the parts of the preserve that are so precious to people. And the other group is people with young children or grandchildren who say, by the time I walk to that entrance and walk down there, my kids want to go home before they even get there. Not to mention being walking across the field or down through from Parkview when you can get to Parkview. That is what's happening now. There is now a petition, of which I have a copy, in case there's someone from the Winchell area here who wants to sign it. We have, at the moment, thank you, Dr. Marwood. At the moment, we have between 10 and 12 families scattered through the neighborhood who are circulating this petition, asking for signatures from their friends and their neighbors in order at least, whether we finally get this parking or not, to make it known that the neighbors do not want to shut people out from this entrance to the preserve. That we are not, we have no question about the importance of bicycle lanes, no question about streets. Safety, there's never been a problem with safety on in this little dead-end area of Winchell Avenue. We hardly support this. This is something that many, it's every day somebody new emails me and says, I hear about this petition, I really want to sign it, I want to give it to my neighbors. So that's what's happening right now. My hope is somehow that the city is going to take this tiny, less than 1% of Winchell Avenue and turn it into a welcoming place for people who want to come and enjoy the green space. And I especially, well, many things about this take my heartstrings, but one of them is how many people in this town are working so hard to make accessible green spaces, to honor the environment. And this just feels like, thank you for letting me get on my soapbox.
Lori, did I hear you correctly to say that the neighborhood association, the ODWNA, Open Drive Winchell Neighborhood Association, is seriously opposed to parking along there, and they want to have 2 bike lanes?
Seriously, yes.
There was a lone vote, correct?
Yeah, their representative on the council, the management council, was the lone vote against supporting the modification of this. And the Alpha group, I know, I have not, I don't know how many of you know Mark Hoffman, but he's been in city politics forever and is highly respected. He was the designated person from the Asylum Lake Preservation Association to negotiate with Mr. Randolph and the city and ODWNA about this, because we in ODW, in Alpha are perfectly happy to be flexible about the number of parking, and it was suggested at the council shortening the hours. If there is bicycle traffic in the morning, let's not start this permitted parking until noon or 10 or whatever.
One little tiny tweak that you might do where they do it in a lot of parks is dawn till dusk instead of
Yeah,
hours.
exactly,
Yeah, something
exactly.
like that.
That's another way. Yeah, so, there's never been an official statement from ODWNA, but there's been correspondence back and forth between Alpha and ODWNA, and requests from Alpha to meet and talk about this. This moment, this is it. So, anyway, I just wanted to inform you about this.
Well, maybe we need to have a few people go to that meeting who are in favor of this new plan.
Go to which meeting? We've been at the city commission.
The
We've been at-
neighborhood association meeting and just change some lines.
I have had for literally, personally, I've had for 30 years, a meeting right after this one on the third Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
And so I have never been to a meeting. I've been on mailing lists and so forth. We would be happy if, and the hope is that this petition from the neighborhood, it's definitely a neighborhood at this point, because we don't have the time and the manpower, person power to expand it. We know we could get it. Because the other important thing to remember is people have gotten $20 parking tickets by parking there when they didn't realize that the rules had changed.
Yeah.
Question, so does the addition of these parking spots, does this make any infrastructure changes in the road? Are you widening the road? Are you taking anything out? Is it just nothing they do within that lane, you can park here?
Just within that lane, you could park there.
Yeah, and the other context is, up until about this time last year, this was not a problem, and then they installed the bike lane. And I will say, so Lori knows this, I live on the other side of this preserve. I am one of maybe a half dozen people that actually uses the bike lane we're talking about every day to go to work, and it looks like the surface of the moon. So two things. Number one, it's not an inconvenience for me as a cyclist. Number two, the city's not doing a very good job enforcing the rule that they're intending on keeping, which I don't think is right. You can't do it both ways. So at least I'm happy to sign the petition, but, my understanding, and I suppose it's on the public record, I've had my differences with Pete, but I think he does do his best to represent the interests of the people that show up at that meeting. So I feel like that's probably the next best move, is to try to convince the neighborhood association.
That's very good piece of advice.
Yeah.
Is there a bus stop there?
There's not a bus. The closest one is traveling through the forest and getting on Stadium. I actually just looked at the map this morning.
Maybe we should be thinking about adding a bus to promote public transportation, instead of immediately going to creating more infrastructure for all.
We're not creating
It's not
more.
creating, it's where people used to always park. It was always a parking until the city changed it to say no one's allowed to park there. But I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah, I just think we need to be a little more creative. We want to really embrace a multimodal transportation. It's not just for single use.
I think that's a good point. So I was just looking at actually the bus map this morning. Yeah, the closest one is a 30-minute loop walk around. I don't think there's a city bus that goes on Winchell at the moment, so that's one option. I don't know, I just find the access to green space, I hear what you're saying, and I'm a big proponent of like infrastructure in town as well and multimodal. I think we're losing more by keeping this parking ban than we're gaining. That department is my read of it, but, yeah, I don't think the ECC is in a position to make a recommendation on this, since it's, access to green space is relevant, but I don't know if it's our position on planning.
No, I don't think so either. I just wanted you to know the
Yeah.
complicated background.
Yeah,
of this whole
absolutely.
thing.
You know, with, you know, oftentimes with traffic, you know, interest in cases in traffic or trying to assess traffic on a particular road or street, you know, there are ways to count the number of cars or vehicles that go on a street. I wonder if there is a way to set up a mechanism to count the bicycle use. I mean, because I think that would be relevant. You can say, you know, I know it's a dead end, and I know it's not used very much. You know, you said you're one of a half a dozen, but is there a way to quantify, to actually document that? Like, this is, you know, this bike lane is used so infrequently that it's hard to justify keeping, you know, people with, you know, elderly people or people with families or people who would like to access the green space but can't walk that far from using it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if there is or not. You know, you can set up, you know, a trail cam and catch the bicycles going by, but,
Well, and it's also not blocking bicycle access.
Yeah.
You can cross the street and ride or walk your bike on the other side of the street and go back again.
right, I mean, yeah, I'm familiar with the area, so I know it's not.
That's the
not
main thing,
really
is
an
I'm
issue.
literally riding in the middle of the street, because, I mean, I know this is short-term thinking,
Did you
because
say it's like the crater of the
it is,
moon?
yeah, so I mean, it's hard to plan on like, okay, the city street is now bad, maybe it won't be in the future, so that's not that great of a
Exactly.
reason, to be fair. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
In my view, I think we're losing more than we're gaining by enforcing this rule.
yeah, this isn't taking away the bike lane in general, it's just making it be able to do both things, and I don't know if I agree with the trying to count, it's definitely, proven that when you're adding more bike lanes, more people are gonna be using them, so that's like counting them now, when they're continually still working on connecting all of these different bike lanes, isn't, like,
That'd be
wouldn't be
premature.
full data yet, I guess,
I see
is
what you're saying.
fine.
Are the parking spaces in front of Winchell, there are parking spaces in front of the elementary school, aren't there?
Yeah, they're regulated, and I think at the moment you have to be in the car, because it was the idea was, we can't let our kids off at the school now, because you don't allow parking. So then they made the dashed lines instead of the,
And that was actually my last disagreement with Pete, the president of the neighborhood association there, is, it's not also very well enforced. So theoretically, parents are only supposed to park there during pickup, drop-off time at the school, but a lot of parents, in order to not have to do a UE, will park on the other side, which is a bike lane, and I have an issue with, because you can't have both sides. So I think it's a good question, but it's temporary for a few of,
Plus, when they park on both sides, very narrow going through there, and you never know when some little kid's gonna cross the street.
Exactly.
Well,
Dangerous.
it is like
it is.
a real danger to try to drive through there when school is letting out or starting. It is just it's a chaotic, jack-up mess.
And getting more cars out of there in the long run is the best plan, certainly, and,
Yeah.
you know, but, yeah, I think if we don't have any more discussion points on this, thank you, Lori, for the
appreciate
presentation.
very much. Always nice to be back here. I come as often as I can.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Miss you guys.
Miss you too. Excellent. Okay, so Park and Rec Advisory Board, Rob's not here. Wellhead Protection Program, we've just got updated on that recently, so we're good. Unless anybody happened to see it, I don't think we have anything from the Watershed Council at the moment. No. And then Odor Task Force, so Aaron is out. So, okay, last thing I have, and then we're gonna go to public comment real quick. I don't wanna like vote on this, I just, a brief discussion. I was wondering what people might think of providing the city commission some update every meeting. Even if it's a single paragraph, here's the issues we're hearing. Obviously Jean is reporting back on what she's doing, but maybe just as an addition to the stuff that you're, doing, so you don't have to wait on the meeting minutes, which are habitually really late as well. So, just discussion, yeah. You're in favor?
I did check with the city clerk, and all of the minute meetings for ETC are up now.
Beautiful, thank you.
That's the last time. What we do get is a Friday email. What commission gets is a Friday email from the city manager's office,
Okay,
and updates every Friday about what's going on. So after this meeting, if there's something significant that you voted on or that we were gonna send, I would put that into our Friday email. It's something that Aaron or the chair could easily do that, or I could, I do forward it as well.
appreciate that context, yeah, so, and that's the thing, is I wasn't even thinking of necessarily things that we vote on, but just kind of like, these are the issues we're hearing from the community. On one hand, I wouldn't want it to just become background noise for you guys, but on the other hand, I feel like if
Right.
you're only hearing us when there's huge things. It's easy to forget that we're doing stuff aside from,
So,
obviously,
I don't
your
know if the chair would want to summarize everything that's
Right.
important that came out of the meeting, or that we're working on, or if our liaison, Melissa, you tend to put things in as well to the Friday email? Especially when we were working on the CSP.
Yes.
You know, those things came to us through there. So, so Jean will be the one to, Jean Talando will be the one to, the city liaison that would incorporate her thoughts into the city community.
So I didn't want to make any decisions today, I just kind of want to put the idea out there if anybody has thoughts, and I'll talk to Aaron about it, and maybe, we can put it as an agenda item for next
Maybe,
month.
yeah, maybe talk to Jean and make sure that she just summarizes what happened at the
Sure.
meeting, and it would be great to have the commission know.
Right, and I think it would be a nice setup too. Part of my thinking is if we want to become an oversight, element of the community sustainability plan, I think it would be better to be hearing from us regularly in that capacity too.
Yeah, and in a similar vein, I guess I just have a question as to why this board is a committee and not a board, and kind of what is the reasoning behind that structure, and if there's been any thought to switching that to a board from a committee, and what that process may look like.
I think that's a great question, and I would love to continue talking about that, and what kinds of things that we might have oversight of. Like you said, the tree ordinance is pretty old and about to be updated. We have a lot of stuff going on in the community sustainability plan, and there's a lot of boards that are touching on environmental stuff, but I think it might, I don't know, I could see us being more of a clearinghouse for more environmental stuff, in the future, so I would like to continue talking about that.
I think one of the problems with that is we're not elected. Since we're not elected, everybody who votes will elect the commission. And then we have to work through them.
That's true, but the planning commission is not elected,
Yeah,
the
and they
Parks and
don't
Rec board.
know if I like that either.
Yeah.
I'd just like to have,
We're the only one that isn't, and they are all similarly not elected.
yeah, I know.
I mean, we're voted on though officially through the city commission. I don't know if you want to count that. I mean, we're not elected by the public, but all of those other boards have more authority with, seemingly without.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
legally speaking, we're probably appointed by the city commission, I guess that's probably the real mechanism of it.
We are,
But,
that's true.
yeah,
But
so,
the original setup was for us to give them advice because they're the ones, they are the elected people.
sure.
Are the boards, the groups that are actually boards, aren't those partially filled with city staff? I mean, they're actually a function of city government,
Mhm.
and we're not. I mean, we have a liaison, but we don't have,
I think it's,
staff member that sits on this, committee. That's why it's an oversight committee. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
just think that might be
that might be part of it if we
the
did it,
difference.
yeah,
And I've never really thought about it,
sure.
but it is set up differently than a board.
Right. Yeah, so, at least with the planning commission, it's a mixture of, public and city employees that have votes on there. And maybe that would be what it would become. We'd have maybe some from Parks and Rec, from Public Works or something like that, but, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to put the idea out there, maybe sit on it, percolate. I haven't talked to Aaron about it yet. But I really love that idea. I've been thinking about the same thing for a while, so.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's a question for the new city attorney, if that's something that, they would take a look at.
Yeah, even what the mechanics of how that would work, absolutely. Okay, thank you for entertaining that. Can we do public comment, see if there's anybody on the phone?
About 30 seconds.
You happen to have the Facebook open?
Yeah.
Were there any?
Yeah,
questions?
there's one that, if you
Okay.
comment first, and then there's one I can read it.
Especially while we're waiting, this is a stress for the architects that have been by, CPED for downtown, working at downtown home too. It's open to the public, so if you want to stop by when you're done.
Cool, thank you. All right, no public comment? All right, well, just saying it out loud, so it's on the record and on the recording, people can email me or the chair, their comments that will be read into the record and addressed as well. They can come to the meeting, that's the ideal way, and then call in usually towards the end. And you said there's a comment?
There's a Facebook comment I could read. Richard Stewart said, "Why do you not address noise pollution in the environment? Why are we not addressing the environmental health hazards of public urination and defecation in the streets? This led to the spread of disease before they invented indoor plumbing. Kalamazoo is smelling like urine now. Also, the supported traffic calming efforts are dramatically increasing TRAP, traffic-related air pollution. Why are you not holding these planning of the ridiculous measures accountable for the increases in air pollution from all of the starting and stopping and increased wear from braking dust? Constant speeds, reducing emissions, and starting and stopping it increases." He said could not get through on a calm public line to ask about requiring all road planning and traffic calming discussions to require not increasing TARP, traffic-related air pollution. All the efforts so far are increasing traffic-related air pollution, and no one is discussing TRAP. Since you did not take public call-ins, please acknowledge this public request for the addition to TRAP discussions and any further traffic calming lane changes, bicycle lanes, et cetera. They are increasing traffic-related air pollution.
Okay.
I had like 5 hashtags.
Yes, well, number one, thank you for your comment, Richard. Sorry you couldn't get in on the phone line, if you're still listening. We appreciate your Facebook comment. There's a lot of material in there. The main thing I would say, though, is if you want to address TRAP, we would love to see some data and some supporting documentation on that. Number two, I think if you give it a little time, the idea with traffic calming is to encourage people to not drive in the first place and give alternative methods, as David highlighted. So ideally, in the long term, even if that is an issue, we can address that. And number three, I don't think the city smells like urine. Sorry, that's just a disagreement.
Yeah, there's certain places that do, I can tell you that.
Sure, but,
And
and it's a hot button issue right now. We could definitely, if we're talking waste management, we could do better about public restrooms available to everybody downtown, certainly. And I think that's a legitimate concern, but, that's outside of our purview.
It's not legal for urination or defecation. It is just a fine instead of jail time. So there's no, I don't know what to say, but I definitely don't feel like that is incentive for people to start doing something that they previously wouldn't have already done. Also, public restrooms is definitely an issue. They have been continually decreasing while the need has been increasing. So that would be something to actually work towards. But again, that is not our place exactly either.
So yeah, Richard, I guess if you're listening, definitely when it comes to the bathroom issue, city commission is the folks to tell that we need more public restrooms, absolutely. Look forward to more information on the TRAP situation, and thank you for your call. So, unless anybody has any closing business, we can adjourn. All right, meeting adjourned, thank you, everybody.
Very good.
Well done, Eric.
Thank you.
What's the plan for more,
Survive.
public restrooms?
I don't know what the plan is.